Dadsnet original podcast.
Hi Mel, that's JK, and this is JK and Al because we've changed the name.
Look how excited he is.
I'm very excited. Coming up on this week's episode, well, it's just exciting because we've rebranded and it's like the first one of the year, and I'm quite.
Voice has changed.
I know, I'm just quite enthused. But coming up, we're talking to Ollie Ollerton from SAS.
Yeah.
Who Dares Wins, not the other SAS program. Which
As you'll hear in the interview, where I mean, out of all the people that you get stuff wrong,
Yeah.
don't get it wrong with
I know.
a former, SAS guy.
Yeah, I did feel like this, like maybe a little laser pointer might just end up on my chest. Anyway, we speak to Ollie Ollerton later on in the program, and that is fantastic. He literally nails everything that's inside my head, but he puts words to it. It's brilliant. We're reviewing some coats, some outdoor wear coats,
Yep.
which are dotted around. That's really interesting because and we've also got a parenting story, all that and more coming up on JK and Al.
How is your New Year? How is your Christmas?
Oh, well, it's a distant memory now, isn't it? Really?
It is although you say that, right in the corner here, the Christmas tree is still up, and we're recording this on Friday the 13th of January.
Yeah.
Still up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just can't be bothered.
that's going to be one of those. You know what you should do? You see this on social media. Wrap it up in cling film, shove it away, and then when it comes to December next year, you just unwrap the cling film.
Well, really what I'm waiting on is if I leave it long enough, next time Jen comes to the office, she'll be so irritated that I've just left it up. She'll just do it.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a
Al,
match.
is it not down yet? No, Jen, I've been really busy.
really rammed.
Cue Jen, off they
Exactly.
come.
It's basically what happens at home.
Yeah.
Like I'll just leave a mug on the side until Jen comes along and tidies it away.
Do you leave your pants on the floor at the side of the bed and they miraculously make their way to the washing basket, then into the washing machine, then back into your drawers?
Yeah. Do you know what I do? I pull, this is interesting. I pull down my trousers and my pants. This is when I'm getting ready for bed or going for a shower. I pull down my pants and my trousers. And then I slip my legs out and my socks. And then I leave it in a perfectly arranged.
Oh, she hates that.
So then I can just step back into it the next day and pull it up. It saves so much time in the morning.
That is so you.
Yeah.
It really is.
How was your Christmas, New Year?
We did too much.
Oh.
We did too much. Okay, now I know that sounds like I'm being like, oh, yeah, it's all right for you doing too much. No, we did too much. And we did that classic thing. I now remember why my dad used to say, we're not going anywhere that much this Christmas because the kids want to play with their toys. And actually, he's right. Because Christmas Day, up we got. We went for lunch at Charlie's parents, so the in-laws, which was amazing and lovely and great. Everything we did was fantastic. Boxing Day, we went to Charlie's uncle's. Yeah. Then we went to Worcestershire to see my family. Yeah. Then we came back. Then for New Year, we went somewhere else and caught up with friends. We didn't actually stay at home. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm like, all kids really want to do is just stay at home and play with their toys.
Ted gets like that. Sometimes he says, I just feel really busy at the moment.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like it. So what do you want to do today? He goes, nothing.
Yeah.
I want to watch TV. I want to play some Lego, maybe do a bit of craft at the table, maybe go around and see Grandma Leia or something. He just wants to chill. And at Christmas it can get like that, can't it? But
kids obviously back to school. Well, just after infection after infection after antibiotics after honestly, well, as you know, for me it's been a nightmare. However, back to school, and I've got to share this with you. So Noah's teacher pulled my wife aside. And we were like, oh God, here we go. What's happening now? Into New Year.
Don't get that the wrong way around. I pulled Noah's teacher.
No. So she pulled Charlie aside and said, no, nothing to worry about. Noah absolutely cracked us up today. We were like, oh, okay, why? And she said, well, Noah drew a picture of me today. But he drew a picture of me.
Of you?
No, of
the
teacher.
Wow. As
a cave woman. So, and she was holding a piece of meat. So she said, look, I'm going to show you this because the teacher and the teaching assistant had to go into the cupboard to laugh so much because they didn't want the kids.
That's what teachers do.
I know,
we hide in the cupboards to laugh.
Yeah. So would you like to see the picture? Oh
no.
Would you like to see the picture?
Yes.
Of what Noah drew of his teacher as a cave woman holding a piece of meat?
Yeah. Why is the meat there?
You can see why they had to go into a cupboard.
A little bit of colour. That's perfect. Why? Tell me that's on the fridge. You need to put it right pride of place. Noah, we love your artwork so much. It's on the fridge.
And this is we'll blur this bit out when we show it, but there's an arrow going to it. Stone Age Miss Teacher.
Just so you don't avoid any doubt. It's definitely her.
100% holding a piece of meat.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, amazing. Kids are wonderful. Their innocence in those kind of situations
honestly,
is just brilliant.
Loved it so much. So yeah, I've just got visions of them, as we've just done, having to go into the cupboard, and all you can probably see in the background is just shoulders going like this.
Yeah, sniggering. Class, you get on with something.
Carry on. Watch what you want.
Amazing. Well, I mean, that's the kind of thing. So what we're doing with the new format of the show is not that different from if you listen to our previous kind of Don't Tell Your Mum branding. We're changing it ever so slightly. So instead of confessions, we're just having like parenting stories.
Yep.
So exactly like this. So I mean, that's a great kind of link in. But let's listen to the story. These are sent in from members of Dadsnet. These stories are outrageous. So let's dive in. Who is it today?
So this story is from Andy Fraser, and it's about his twin boys. So let's just play what Andy has to say.
When they were about 18 months, they're 13 years old now, they were in the garden while I was pottering about, and they always played well together, so there was never any issues. Anyway, I'd just been and done something, and I come back and I thought, they're really quiet. And in the space of about a minute and a half, they'd sneaked in the house, into the kitchen, got a pastry brush each from out the kitchen drawer, and they were outside, stark bollock naked, with about 3 pounds of their own poo from one of their nappies, and were spreading it across the decking. I was absolutely mortified. I had to run in the house quick. They were just stood there smiling at me. I had to run in the house quick, run upstairs, run a bath, and then I had to carry each one of them at arm's length up the stairs and put them in the bath and basically hose them down with the shower head. They were absolutely covered in it. It was horrendous. And then it took me about 2 days to clean the decking. It was everywhere. There was so much, I have no idea, that come out of 2 18-month-old twin boys. It was absolutely horrendous.
Oh, the worst bit about decking is the grooves. Oh.
Amazing. But with pastry brushes. They're so small. And also, who has 2? Oh, I mean, that's amazing. Amazing story. The poo. I mean, I don't think you can beat a poo story. Really, no. Can you? Because the reason why is that every parent has a poo story.
Yeah.
Like it's something like that has happened. Also, his accent made that story
100%
good.
Start bollock naked.
Yeah. It really is. It really is.
That's exactly what we want from these stories. If you have any of these stories and you'd like to give us it in message form. I think it's funnier when you get the message as well.
Yeah,
you can hear it a bit more. You can picture it a bit more. And I've just got visions of him hosing down like the jet washing the decking because his child shit is in the grooves.
Yeah. I wonder if that story set the tone for how those twins are just going to go through life. Just basically the pair of them causing mischief. Yeah. I bet, Andy, Fraser, Andy, if you're listening, let us know whether that did set the tone for how those kids grew up. Because I bet at 13 years old, I bet they're still causing havoc.
Just fantastic. And there'll be another one of those next week.
Yeah. And so if you want to send it in, we've actually set up a Facebook group, a JKNL Facebook group. So you can go into that group. We're going to be running giveaways from the gear that we review. It's a place where you can chat to us as well. You can chat to each other. But also it's a place where you can get in touch if you want to submit your story for the podcast, for the show. So do that. Join the group. Just search for JKNL on Facebook.
So it's time for our very first interview with us, JK and Al, and we always said to ourselves that the very first one we want someone who just like hits the ground running, someone that's, you know, strong, good presence, been on TV maybe, well known, you know, a dad if possible, bit of a man crush sort of thing. Like the perfect guest for us would be that kind of person.
Yeah. And we nailed it.
We nailed it.
Ollie Ollerton from SAS, Who Dares Wins, but he's an author. He runs a business called Breakpoint. He'll tell you about that in the interview. But I don't know, there's just something quite special about interviewing Special Forces.
Before we play the interview, there was a question that I was going to ask him, but we ran out of time, and I was kind of oohing and ahhing whether or not I should ask. But the question you want to ask someone like Ollie is, you must have seen some rather, you know, horrific things, fierce things, weird things, whatever that phrase is. But you can't ask someone that question who's been in that situation, can you? But that's what's going through my head at the time. Like he's trained so hard. Yeah. You know, he's wise. He knows his stuff, as you'll find out in this interview. But that was the kind of question that I wanted to.
I mean, that's probably interview 2.
Yeah, if we get one. Yeah.
Anyway, here he is. It's Ollie Ollerton from SAS, Who Dares Wins on JK and Al Show.
Well, it's very exciting for the first JK and Al interview to welcome Ollie Ollerton from SAS. Are you tough enough? Ollie, welcome to the show. It's fantastic to have you with us.
Thank you, Al. And first of all, attention to detail. It's not SAS. Are you tough enough? It's SAS.
Get out of town. Is it not? What is it then?
SAS Who Dares Wins. That show was shit.
Do you know, I watched that show when I was about 12 years old. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
No.
What one am I thinking of?
Oh, no, the one you're thinking of is SAS Are You Tough Enough? Yeah, that was...
From years ago.
Yeah, that I wasn't on that. I know,
that was a long time ago. I was about 12 years old, and I remember that because that was what made me think, oh, I'd like to try out for the SAS.
Yeah, no, you're not the first, mate, so don't give yourself a hard time.
Okay, should we go back?
No, you know, before we
let's try again. Let's try again.
JK, do you want to do the intro or shall I do it? I should have said I'll do the intro, but never mind. It's absolutely fine.
Ollie, really, it's JK's fault.
Oh yeah, blame me. Fantastic. Ollie, so what's the situation right now? Because how long did you do on that show?
I did from I think it was 2015. So I started the show 2015 to 2020.
Right, and you now work. And are you now on the Australian version? Is that right?
Yeah, correct. The much far superior version. So it's we got an upgrade.
But is it? Are they better? Are the Australians better?
Yeah, but it's not just, when I say an upgrade, it's not just about the recruits, so to speak. I mean, more importantly, it's the relationship between the production crew and us and the whole marriage that goes into it, you know what I mean? Which really then produces the gold. So regardless of what the recruits are like, if you haven't got that right, then the rest is, you know, doesn't flow anyway. So really, the good thing about SAS Australia is the fact that we have that partnership. You know, and they give us creative license, and we then obviously understand that they've got they're the experts in their job, and the two, it becomes a marriage. You know what I mean? And unlike most marriages, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
not my marriage included.
We've all been
there.
Yeah, we've all been there. Now, so 2015 is when you started, you know, the show. Yeah. So from your point of view, from what you've done and what you do as a career, is it quite a risk to take, you know, doing a TV show? Because obviously you're in Special Forces, which is quite, you know, anonymous. Was it a risk to do that?
It was a massive risk, JK. It was an enormous risk, and that's really at the start, around those early days. I mean, they couldn't find anyone to do the show. That's why I got in there. But they honestly couldn't find lads to do it because it was a big risk. Because once you've been on the TV, then even as a civilian, you know, some of the stuff you do as a former Special Forces soldier, you can no longer do in that, you can no longer do. So, it's the first time on TV that former Special Forces had chosen to be non-pixelated, so full exposure. So that was a massive risk. And all four of us, we put our heads above the parapet and we took that risk. And a lot of people, didn't want to be part of it then because of that. Then as soon as they saw how successful the show was, they then wanted a part of it. But, at the end of the day, we were the ones that put our heads above the parapet, so to speak.
And the four of you were a very sort of close-knit team. You could tell that you had a special bond and stuff. So how did the gang feel when I think two of you were leaving? Was that right?
No, it was myself first. So I mean, listen, when you say we were a close-knit team, we weren't like Special Forces work. At the end of the day, people have this misconception that lads from working in such an elite military unit are so closely bonded, both at work and away from work. But that's not the case. At the end of the day, if you don't work together to get the job done, and you can push your differences and things aside, then people can get killed. You know what I mean? So really, when it comes to doing the job, we're tight as anything. But that's not to say that we hang out with each other on weekends and stuff like that. I'm not saying that we had a good relationship. Myself and Foxy, I mean, I've known Foxy for years, so he's a long-term mate of mine and always will be. But it's not like I was hanging out with the other guys continuously. But when it came to that happening, I mean, it was, the lads wanted to they wanted to basically reject the fact that I was being taken off the show. And I told them not to bother. Please don't bother doing that. My time was up on that show and I'd lost interest in it, to be honest. So the thing is with that, it's like it's not like I'd have gone in and said, I've had enough, I'm going to try some new things, because you're getting paid, your ego's being stroked. You know what I mean? It's like, it had to end the way it ended for me, which was good, because although it ended, it was like that bridge straight across to SAS Australia. If I'd have had the two of those going on at the same time, then it would have taken me away from my business. I couldn't have done my business stuff, and that was the scary thing at that time. It's like, I always said I would never allow anything to compromise what I'd set up with Breakpoint.
Yeah.
And to do 2 shows a year, it's a sideshow for me. So I can't commit to more than one, to be quite honest. And even if Australia came, stopped next season, next series, then it's done what it needed to do for me.
Yeah. I want to ask about the business in just a moment, but one last thing on the show. How realistic, is it? Because obviously you're producing a show which is not military. So the activities and the exercises and kind of what you're putting the contestants through, how close to the actual training and the process? How close is it?
I'd sort of disengage the physical stuff, because first of all, we haven't got long with these people. But when it comes to a mindset aspect, it's all about your mindset, the strength of character and your mental robustness, then it comes very close. Because at the end of the day, we're exhausting people to their lowest ebb. And then when they're absolutely exhausted, thinking I've got no more to give, that's when we go back in and say, right, show me everything you've got. And that's very much the same as SAS. At the end of the day, when you're behind enemy lines and everything's gone wrong, you can't blow a whistle and then ask for a latte. You know what I mean? You've got to keep on going and going and going. You don't decide when it ends. It just ends when you get to safety. So from a mental aspect, but at the end of the day, the things are designed, the exercises, the tasks are designed to put them into that real sense of fear, that real sense of vulnerability. And really for them, it's about removing the ego and not allowing them to design the perfect outcome that makes them look good.
Which must be even
what we all
harder
do.
with the celebrities.
Say again.
It must be even harder to do that with the celebrity.
Yeah, that was really pointed at the celebrities, because they come on that show thinking, I'm going to look cool, I'm going to be, I'm going to beat everyone. And then first of all, they come along and then realize, although they want to win, they've got to work with everyone else to get through the course. Yeah. And if they don't, the course rejects them. And then also, they're, for the first time, it's the first time that they've ever had a situation where they can't design that perfect outcome. You know what I mean? So they're really in our hands, and it's all about surrender. If you can't surrender to us, you never get through the course.
And we have to ask this: who was the celebrity that most impressed you?
Wayne Bridge. I always say that Wayne Bridge was just an absolute machine. And who was? I mean, there was a lot of people that impressed me, but yeah, Wayne Bridge.
And who was the worst?
Katie Price. As said on the interview with her, you give a fucking aspirin a headache.
Wow. In her bio.
One of my proudest moments.
Did you think of that on the spot?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's actually from a film called Layer Cake.
Yes.
Oh,
But
yeah,
still, I've got to put that in there. That's got to stay in there. I'm going to remember that. I've got to.
It's a showstopper. When you say that to someone, it's brilliant.
Yeah. She's still in therapy for it now.
She'll be in therapy forever, I think.
Yeah.
It would have, tell you what, though, Katie Price, it would have done her more good than anyone to stick it out. Because that show really does help people. It really gets to the depths of who they are, and she would have benefited so much. So it was such a shame that she didn't see it out. But there you go.
Yeah. Well, she needs to. So she needs your business. That's what she needs.
Oh no, I don't know if I'm ready to take that on.
Send me to
Iraq, but I'm not going there.
Yeah, you've done your service there.
I've done my bit. Yeah.
Again, if you get called up again, fine, but not with Kate Price.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's probably a good time to go on to the business, I think. So as we can see behind you, the business is Breakpoint. And for those of us that don't know what it is, can you explain to us, please, Ollie?
Yeah, in simple terms, Breakpoint gets you to change the way you think. Now, that doesn't mean with a set of nipple clamps and an old car battery, but what that does mean is like we get people to really start to understand how they're wired as humans, and this started for us at Breakpoint. We started doing physical events where we bring people to us and we'd have them for the weekend, and the change would be amazing. But we got to understand that we would have, sometimes 40, 50 people on a weekend. And to sustain any kind of positive change, you need to have more of a prolonged sort of program, mentorship, if you want to call it that. So the way we've evolved now, and sort of this got turbocharged by the lockdowns and stuff, is we're more or less doing more mentorship programs now. So we're designing an online portal where we take people on that journey for 6, 12 months or whatever, life, where we're continuously getting them to improve and set goals and really get to grips with their strengths and their weaknesses to really start to evolve in life. Because there's so many people out there that they're made to believe that they should be happy with the standard template, and it's not the case whatsoever. And that's really comes down to a lack of self-belief and a lack of directive action to things they can achieve. And, I could go on, but, there's a lot of people out there suffering with mental health issues, just feeling pretty flat in life. And that's because they've got absolutely nothing that's challenging them. You've only got to look at life nowadays. I mean, we're led to believe that this life, this utopia that we're heading for is somewhere where we're just going to sit back and do absolutely nothing. We're not going to do. We're going to get there and it's all about kicking back and doing nothing for the rest of our lives. Yeah. Problems and challenges are there to help us grow.
Okay, so I love this whole premise, because I've been saying to my wife and funnily enough my mum for quite a while that it feels like people think life should just be full of roses, and it should just be really
Yeah.
easy, and we're led to kind of believe that everything is really nice and easy, and we're entitled to this and that. And actually, it's not. It's really hard. And there's challenges like almost everywhere you look, there'll be another challenge, whether it's in the work, whether it's at home, whether it's with the kids, whatever it is. And how you kind of look at those challenges is going to, I guess, make or break your process. And that sounds like what you guys do. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's just it's absolutely understanding that, you know, this world that we're living in, you know, you can press a button, you've got stuff delivered on your door. You even walk into a service station, you don't even have to press a button or turn a tap. Everything's done for you. You know, I've got a new car. I love it, but it drives me mad. It's trying to drive for me. And I'm like, just let me do something. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like we're led to believe that that's the life that we should be heading for, where it's absolutely effortless. And really, that's not why we were put onto this earth. You know, if there's a lot of people that just think we're just this lump of meat and gravy that was put on this earth to work, sleep, eat, repeat, you know, and it's not. You know, we're put on this earth to be challenged, to grow, to learn, and thank God for problems, thank God for things that are challenges that are standing in our way, because that's where we learn and grow. Yeah. You know, and when we have that, when that's void in our life, that's when we start to suffer with depression and lack of motivation and everything. It grew up nothing bigger pulling us through.
Yeah. So without wanting to give away too much of obviously your content and your course and what you do, like, what's the like biggest thing that's stopping people from even just having that initial change in the way that they are going about their life?
There's two things here, right? And what breakpoint stands for a few things, but really it's about taking the short-term discomfort into long-term change or for long-term gain. Now, the way that everyone is wired, we're wired because through our survival blueprint, we're wired to take the short-term comfort, but that leads to long-term pain. Now, that can be drink, drugs, it can be your relationships, it can be your careers, whatever it is. But we tend to go for the things that offers that short-term gain, you know, that short-term sort of enjoyment. And really, at the end of the day, you know, nothing was ever great in life unless at some point we doubted our ability to achieve it. So really, you know, people should be looking to really start to understand that if they're always taking that shortcut to happiness, and well, there is no shortcut, but you know, always taking this short-term fix, then they're never really going to get anywhere in life. They're never really going to feel, you know, a lot of people talk about, you know, the people that what they've said on their deathbed. And there's a lot of merit in that, you know, when people haven't really done anything throughout their lives. You know, we should be looking to really create a story that we'd love to be told. Yeah. And really that is, the problem is, you know, I always say there's a contradiction, right? And the fact is, you know, we've got our survival instinct, which really at the end of the day would be quite happy if we sat in the corner and just procreated all day long. And that might sound quite appealing to some people, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, survival of the species, protection of ourselves, you know, it doesn't want us to jump out of aeroplanes and join the special forces. You know, it wants us the survival of the species wants us to do nothing and just keep continuing the species. But our soul wants us to experience stuff, wants to go out there, wants to have this adventure. So there's a conflict. There's an internal conflict. And it's just understanding the mechanics of who we are that helps us get through that. I mean, one thing I'll say that we help people to do above all is awareness. And that's awareness of our thoughts and everything that's going on in here. Because our life is an external, our life is an external replication of our thoughts. So everything that goes on in here becomes our outside world. And for some people, that might take, you know, initially they might think, oh, that's a load of woo-woo, it's rubbish. But it's absolute fact. Our life is a product of our thoughts.
Do we think that...
And it's how we think about things. Yep, go on.
Do we think that this is coming to a head now, though? Because it's really weird that we're chatting to you today. And I said to my wife that we were chatting to you and I, you know, explained your background and stuff. But even prior to that, we were saying that right now, I genuinely don't think the world is a great place. And I think back, you know, and I'm not talking, we're not going all the way back to the 80s when I was a kid and I was a farmer's boy and running around in fields. I'd take a couple of dogs with me, have breakfast, wouldn't get back till like 5:30 in the evening when I was hungry or when it was getting dark. But I'm talking like 10 years ago, life seemed like it was a bit better. And I genuinely think what you said about, resilience and actually doing stuff. For instance, we're going to take a stand this year, and we're going to go camping. And for one reason only, that I don't think my kids have experienced the sort of life that I had. And I'm trying to think of the basic stuff we can do just to try and get back, not just get back to nature, but to get them doing stuff, picking up wood, that sort of stuff. Do you feel that we're at a place right now in 2023 where the world is not a great place, Ollie?
I totally agree with that. And I will actually go further as to say that humanity is at its absolute weakest. We used to be the superior species on this planet, top of the food chain. And I totally disagree with that now. I really think that humanity is in a terrible place. And just for those things that you talk about, I mean, this is absolutely what we should be doing with our kids. Absolutely getting them out there, getting them to learn how to make a fire. I didn't grow up with my son. I only sort of re-engaged a relationship with him not too long ago, to be quite honest. And I was shocked when I think it was 18 or something, he couldn't tie a knot. Yeah. And I was like, geez, wow. You know what I mean? It's like things like that. And, just learning some basic skills and things and getting out into the woods really help. The kids don't want to do it at first because they've got their short-term fix.
Nintendo Switches.
And that's the TV, that's Netflix, that's their... Yeah, they don't want to do it. But once you actually get them and disengage them from that, they love it. They love it. But it's crossing that bridge.
Yeah, I see it as... there's lots, like, so for example, I've got two of my own children and a stepson, but what I see with them is, or what I'm trying to do with them, they might come to me and say, I don't know how to tie a knot, but what I'm then trying to do is like, okay, well, go and find out how to try and tie a knot, like problem solve. I think when JK, when you said about making a fire, like I can just see there's those programs, aren't there? Those shows where they take teenagers into the wild and like you can't just push a button and the fire will happen. That doesn't happen. And then you think like, well, but find out how you could do it. And I think that's part of the problem with children, is that we're just serving everything to them on a plate, and they don't know how to problem solve or work something out for themselves. And they also don't want to. They want it quick. They want it immediate.
But Al, this is so important. What you're talking about there is absolutely spot on, because there is a point where at some point throughout a child's life that you have to do that stuff for them. You know what I mean? You're there, but there comes a point, it's like William, who's my stepson, he's going through that period where as soon as they see something that they see as a challenge, their minds aren't wired to go, I am going to resolve this
problem.
Give up. Their minds are wired to go and ask mum, go and ask dad.
Yeah.
And like all the time, I could easily just answer that question and say, you need to do this. But I just say to him, go back and you solve it yourself. And I say to him, William, you've got to understand that you only come to us when you've tried everything else in your arsenal of skills or ideas or research. And then you come to us and ask for help. Because if you don't, and this is the problem with a lot of kids, that when the parents are doing that for them forever till the time they leave the home, that to me is child abuse.
Yeah. they're not equipped.
You know what I mean? Because you're not. I know that sounds extreme, but at the end of the day, you're not. And it's the same with the parents that do everything for their kids, make the bed for them, do this, do that. You are really not helping them. Yeah, you are so not helping them.
I agree. I'm going for a bit of a on a personal level, I'm going for a bit of a situation with my daughter. So the context is that she lives with her mum, and then she comes to us every now and again, or every other weekend in theory, but we haven't for a while. And I was talking to her last night, and weirdly, coincidentally, and it was exactly this, that for her, it's easier to, like, short term, it's easier for her to just kind of focus on kind of one half of her life. And that's easier for her. And I do understand that. But long term, like, that's not gonna work out, because she doesn't have one side of her life. She's got two parts to her life. So and this, I almost quoted this whole conversation. I said, the thing is, that might be easier short term, but long term, that's not gonna help. And I mean, maybe I'll send her to a breakpoint session because she's not listening to me.
Absolutely. Well, they don't, do they? They don't listen to the parents. But when it comes from an external, I wouldn't say force, that's the wrong word, isn't it? But when it's like teachers, isn't
Someone
it?
else.
You say to your kids, would you talk to your teacher like that?
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, hopefully they say no.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So does Breakpoint work with kids, or is it just kind of for adults going through challenges? But obviously you can apply.
No, I think, look, when I set out to start Breakpoint, there's 3 elements I wanted to cover, and that was, first of all, I wanted to offer my courses to the public and corporate, but I wanted to then use veterans that would staff the courses, so that helped them to then re-engage, and be part of a team again and all that. And then the second thing, or the other thing, was the fact that we wanted to deal with, do children's courses as well, because these are things I suffered with. When I left the military, I took it for granted that, about the the brotherhood that I left, I took it for granted, and I really suffered with that. And then also as a kid, I was absolutely a horrendous kid. I had a horrendous. I caused a lot of grief for my parents. I blame the chimp for that. I don't know if you know that story, but anyway, it's the chimp's fault.
Google
it. So really, I wanted to help kids, as well. So, but we've never got around to doing that. So we've kind of brushed over the surface of it, spoken to a few people. But I see when we get this online portal going that we do have those courses for kids. And really, a lot of the time, I don't think the content is massively different.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not, when we talk about goal setting and things like that, and really starting to have some directive action and belief, there's no difference between an adult and the kids courses.
Ollie, I don't want to get particularly political. I don't want to get particularly political or anything like that, and that's not what this is about. But it feels like what you're saying, and I'm only saying this because I get resistance when I have these conversations, but do you find that there is anyone that's kind of saying that what you're doing is quite like counter-cultural in terms of the direction of things moving? And I'm saying that from like a woke point of view and that side of things. But do you feel like there's any kind of resistance? Like I'm just trying to think, like saying to your kid, like, and this is what I do, so I'm holding my hands up if it's wrong, but if Ted comes to me and says he wants to, I don't know, I'll say do it yourself. That might be seen as quite like against the run of the grain at the moment. Do you feel like you're going a bit against the grain?
Well, I do think I've gone against the grain all my life, and really, at the end of the day, I don't follow the narrative. I follow what feels right to me. So really, I think if the crowd's going that way, I'm going to go left or right. I'm not sticking with the crowd. So, and really, like I say, at the end of the day, what feels right to me, what feels right in my gut. You know what I mean? And following the crowd at the moment does not feel right whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree.
So I just feel that the way that this narrative that's being pushed on us is not the majority view.
But your training is to follow your gut.
But it's coming from a source that.
Sorry.
Say again, sorry, mate.
Your training is for you to follow your gut anyway. That's what you've done, isn't it? That's what you.
Yeah, we should, and a lot of people should have a lot more faith in that. It's your second brain. Your gut is your second brain. There's so much research into that. And you should follow your gut a lot of the time. And so a lot of times we overthink and a lot of time we make decisions and we are these people for the audience and not for us. You know what I mean? It's like we've got to take back the strength of who we are as humans. And that's really what Breakpoint does. We get people to understand the power of being human.
And
and really take back that ownership.
I'm going to just touch on one thing again. If you want to answer, you can. If you don't want to answer, that's absolutely fine. The Prince Harry situation at the moment. Obviously, the talk about the armed forces and what he's done and stuff. What are your thoughts on that? I think that's my personal opinion is it's quite a silly thing to say. And are you putting yourself out there as a target?
You know what, JK, I didn't even know about this until last night. Someone sent me a message asking the same thing on Instagram. And it's an absolute circus. And I choose not to follow anything that's on the news. I don't watch the news. I don't read the newspapers. I'd have to be dead to not know what's going on that's important in this world. But I'm not being fed the absolute circus that's out there, because you know what? There's so much misinformation, and I've been in a war zone as a not just in the military, but as a contractor. When I've come home and seen what's in the papers compared to what's going on the ground, and it's just it's just so distorted. And every time I see something, I just think it's a play for some other reason.
Well, money, right? Surely
so
money.
Really, I can't offer comment because I don't even know what's going on in that realm, and I'm not really interested.
Yeah. No, fair point. Absolute fair point. And there you go.
I think that's
just on that. That's at the end of the day, I think I just think a lot of people. I'm not saying don't watch the news. I'm not saying not stay abreast of things that are going on. All I'm saying is stop belt feeding this stuff, because at the end of the day, look after your 1 meter square.
Yeah.
And that really is when all around you is falling apart. Bring everything back to 1 meter square and keep positive and keep moving forward in that 1 meter square. Make sure your whole family is working within their 1 meter squares, and you come together and work as a unit, because all the stuff that's out there anyway, you can't control. So what's the point of bothering with it? All these things that are going on, all these distractions, all this blah, 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 all this stuff about energy and the economy. You create your own economy. You know what I mean? So you've got to stop allowing that narrative to really control you, because
that's just blown my mind.
As
Ollie,
far as I'm concerned, it's toxic.
I think that's a good point to stop, I think. And we'll ask the question, how do we find out more about Breakpoint? Because that speech that you just did for me,
because I want to book on.
Do you fancy Prime Minister? Well, no, screw Breakpoint. Let's get him in Prime Minister. Come on, that's what
No, I'll do a better job. I'll do a better job.
How do we
last longer than a lettuce?
How can we find out more information about Breakpoint, Ollie?
Yeah, Breakpoint, break-point.co.uk, or just go to my Instagram, which is ollie.ollerton, and then you'll find I'm always my main focus is Breakpoint, so you can't miss it, or just put it into Google or whatever. So, but like I say, a lot of stuff is evolving at the moment. The online hub and everything is being just being built. But I've just started actually doing my first, when I'm really involved, it's a 5-week goal setting masterclass. So basically I've got over 100 people that I'm actually showing them what they need to do to really take back ownership of who they are. So it's going to be an amazing course. So, and that's what I want to do more of. I can reach a lot more people through online, obviously, and virtual, than I can having 25 people on a course for a weekend or whatever. So yeah.
It sounds great, Ollie. I'm fully sold on the whole thing. So it's been great to chat to you, and I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Strong.
It's powerful.
You loved him
because I tell you what, because he's not afraid to say what he thinks, and I feel like the way we're going is a lot of people are afraid of saying what they actually think.
Yeah.
And especially in parenting, Jen and I parent differently, which is why I think we complement each other in most situations, and sometimes we just clash. But that's the power of saying what you think, because there's sometimes when she'll be right, there's be sometimes when I'm right, and if I don't say what I think in a situation, then we'll never know whether I'm right or wrong.
Yeah.
So I think it's really powerful, what he's saying about changing our mentalities. I mean, to be quite frank with you, I think we're just going to book on one of his courses.
you were kind of aiming that way anyway.
Yes, I would absolutely love to.
As soon as we stopped recording, he was like, "Can I just get your number if that's possible?"
Yeah.
And we'll have a chat. There might be stuff we can do together. You blagging a place on his course is what.
100%. I think it'd be brilliant.
What an amazing guy. Absolutely love chatting with him. And as we said at the end of the interview, and we always say we could chat for longer. We genuinely could have chatted for another hour.
Yeah.
I don't know if he felt that way, but we
he was keen to get off. He was like, "I've had enough of these two."
See you later, guys. Yeah, see ya. No, just one more thing. No, fantastic. Who have we got next week?
Next week, we've got Matt Edmondson from Radio 1 and various other bits and bobs that he does. And I'm excited for that one because
he's a very clever guy. He's a very creative guy.
Yeah.
And I've known Matt for a very, very long time, and I've worked with his sister for many years. a great, lovely family
Yeah.
as well. He's a lovely guy.
Yeah,
So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to meeting him. Actually, I think I'm looking forward to it. He's definitely on my list of people that you think I reckon I'll get on with you.
Yeah, nice guy.
It's a one way thing.
Well, yeah, we went to the Pride of Britain Awards. I think it was probably about 3 years ago. It might have been before lockdown. I can't remember. But him and Molly, his radio co-host, were sat next to us. So we had
nice.
a really good catch up then. Really, really nice. So look forward to that. So we're not sort of doing tech anymore. Well, we will feature tech, but we're just sort of now reviewing gear.
Yeah,
that sounds
the good stuff.
You're just the good stuff. So it covers anything. It could be a fake plant. It could be a laptop. It might be a microphone. It could be a jumper. You know, and anything now goes.
It's things that parents use.
Yeah.
Which is obviously quite broad.
Yeah, very broad.
Yeah. And this week we're talking about those lightweight kind of mid-layer coats.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I mean, I'm a big fan of these. I always have been, because they're lightweight. You can shove them in your bag.
Yep.
They're very effective at keeping you warm. And as a parent, you don't want to be lugging around, a great big duffel coat or whatever. You just need something quick. You can shove it in your bag if you need to. You can put it on really quick. It's fairly robust. That's what you need as a parent. So to do this, we've teamed up with Trekit, which is a website that stocks loads of brands from that make all of these types of coats. So they've got Tierra, they've got Montaigne, they've got Mammoth, they've got Rab, all of those kind of typical outdoorsy brands that are creating this clothing. Trekit stock them, but what Trekit also do is give you loads of advice and information on what coat is going to be best suited for you. On that note, we're going to dive into the couple of the coats that we've got here, with one main difference. Some of them are down-filled, and some of them are synthetically filled.
Right.
And we're just going to talk about the difference between those two things.
Do we now need to go off and get our...
Oh, should we put them on?
Our said coats. Oh, I love this. Are we coming back into shot? Yeah.
Yeah, mate. Oh, yes. There we go. Warm as anything.
Oh.
So, you've got the mountain equipment Earth Rise.
I have, yeah. And this is actually 100% recycled down. So that is excellent. I love the whole recycling stuff. That is brilliant. So, yeah, this one is called the Earthrise jacket. As you can see, no hood on this one. This is by Mountain Equipment. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah, you're just putting it on and you say, oh, yeah, I really like it. I wear these all the time, not wearing them all the time. I'm going to show you my actual coat. My actual coat is... Well, what do you know?
Also, Mountain Equipment.
Mountain Equipment. I love this brand. Yeah. I love this brand. This is my favorite jacket that I've ever owned.
Yeah.
Because it's light, it's warm, it's practical. It's not waterproof, but it's kind of water resistant.
Yeah.
And like you say, these things fold.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Well, you just shove it in a bag or under the pushchair or whatever, because in England you never know what the weather's going to do, so you just don't want to be lugging that massive coat around. But also with a kid, you go from being hot to cold really quickly.
Yep.
Which obviously you're doing when you're out in the mountains or going for a hike. You start off cold and then you get warm very, very quickly. But that's the same for parenting, because as soon as you're trying to wrestle a pushchair into the back or out of the back of a car, you're suddenly worked up a sweat.
Yep.
You're hot, whip it off, shove it underneath. 10 minutes later, you're cold, whack it back on.
Yep.
It's so easy and convenient.
And also, this brand particularly, deep pockets, really deep pockets. You can fit a brolly in there. You can fit your hat in there. You can fit your scarf in there. But like when I say deep pockets, like that is deep. And I genuinely love them. You know, my wife at the moment, I'm sure Jen is like this as well. She wears this huge duvet coat at the moment. And the duvet coat, when you go out to for food to a restaurant, the actual flipping coat needs its own chair.
Yeah.
They're huge, aren't they?
Yes.
And they're you can't even compact them.
Yeah. And then by the time they've taken off their scarf and their hat and whatever else. Whereas this, that one hasn't got the hood, but my one that I've been using, the Montaigne, has got a hood.
Yeah.
And I just zip it straight up like that. And that's it. I'm good to go.
Good to go.
We've also been looking at this one's called the Tierra. It is the Tierra Belay. This is also made from polyamide, which is recycled as well. And that's I think a lot of these brands are recycling now. They are doing quite a lot to be environmentally friendly, which makes a lot of sense because they're built for the outdoors.
Exactly.
If they weren't good for the outdoors, there's a bit of a kind
contradiction in terms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a lot of the brands are doing them.
Grab that one, pick it up.
The Tierra's good. This one, like how some of them are ribbed, like the two we're wearing. This one isn't. It's smooth, which I quite like as a slight change in design.
Yeah.
That one's really lightweight.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that is really light.
Yeah.
And that's actually even more.
Yeah, really packs down really small.
I mean, that's quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
But when you compare how it packs and how light it is to how warm it is in it, when you're wearing it, and I walk the dogs every day, and I've tested this one and I've tested the one. This is the one I kind of wear a lot. I've tested both, and they are both really warm. Right now, the other thing, we've got the Mammoth one here. Now, this is a ladies' one, so Jen's been testing this one out. This one, I think this is the synthetic down in here as well. Yes, it is. So this one's synthetic as well. And there's another one from Fajrhal Raven. I don't know how you pronounce that.
It's I want to say this is the expedition series.
Yeah.
And it's where's the tag? There it is. So I would say it's Full Raven, wasn't it? Full Raven?
Full Raven, yeah.
FJALL, Full Raven. And this, the expedition pack down hoodie. This one, so this is a women's as well. They're great fits. That's the other thing. They're great fits.
Yeah.
What I also like about this one, the arms are slightly longer.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes when they're too tight and you can't.
Yeah.
And what I love about these jackets, do you know what I call these jackets? These are the back of the car jackets.
Yeah.
So I genuinely will leave this in the car, and it's there to hand whenever you need it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're great as well. So the one that the Full Raven one that you've got down there, that's down insulated. It's not synthetic. Responsibly sourced, of course. But so the key difference between the down jacket and the synthetic, that is great until it gets wet.
Yeah.
Now it still will perform a little bit when it's wet, but the performance goes a lot down, like basically just goes down. Goes down because it's down. Whereas the synthetic, when they get wet, they still keep a lot of the warmth in.
Yeah.
So my personal preference, therefore, living in England, is that you never know when it's going to rain. I'll get these notifications on my phone saying light rain scheduled for 11 minutes past.
I love that, man.
It's kind of useful, but then
and you know what? It's pretty on. It's pretty spot on.
Yeah, it is accurate. Yeah, in your location.
Yeah.
So, but I get like 10 a day. So it's like, rain on, off. So having one that actually is not going to lose, if you do get caught in that shower, it's not going to lose that warmth, I think is really good.
Yeah.
So I will wear this, but I also have a Mac, traditional kind of cagoule that I put over this as well. So this is for the warmth. I can put it over to protect if you want the rain, but actually if I do get caught in a shower, this will still keep me warm because it is synthetic. Now, that's why I think it's worth it. Now, pricing, right? They range, obviously. Even within one brand, you can go from like 150 quid up to 350 quid. It just ranges depending on the model and whatever else. Trekit gives you all that information, so you can compare really easily and really well. But also, Trekit will often have some discounts and things.
Yep.
And I've seen some. I think one of these, I can't remember which one it is off the top of my head, so forgive me, but one of them went down to 108 quid.
Yeah.
So it's not going to break the bank too much.
No.
But personally, if you're going, I'd rather spend money on one of these rather than a jumper or a t-shirt or trousers or whatever, because I wear it all the time. Yeah. All day, every day.
Yeah, I genuinely think that this is. We always say this when we do like gear tech reviews, but they're perfect presents as well.
Yeah,
they really, really are. If you've got that, that person in your life that you don't know who to buy for, then a good coat, a good practical, being a dad, a good practical coat is the way forward.
Yeah.
And the actual the mountain equipment one that I showed you earlier, my personal one, that was an expensive jacket, but I waited and waited till it came down, and I think eventually what was a £300 coat I got for I think it was £108. I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
So you can hold off as well.
Shop around a bit, but
Definitely.
the Trek It website will have some great deals.
Yeah,
on it.
it's brilliant.
So there's a link in the description, but also we've also got full reviews on all of these coats on dadsnet.com. So head over to there, search for coats and jackets, it will come up. So check out that link to the full review.
Thank you for listening today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the rebrand and the interviews, and like we said, Matt Edmondson from Radio 1 and of TV fame, he's going to be our guest on next week's show.
He is, and I'm getting quite hot, so so let's go.
Take care.
A Dadsnet original podcast.